Hey guys, I'm Andrea and welcome to another episode of Careers Are Weird. Guys, you guys keep asking when I'm going to do my episode on me, and you know what? I'm just going to drop another fun fact in there today, and today's fun fact is I used to play rugby. And that's rugby sevens to be exact. And what a sport, because it introduced me to so many new people. And I got a glimpse into how weird careers really are, because you see people on the rugby pitch and then you see them at their jobs and you're like, whoa. And so today I'm actually joined by one of my old teammates, Christeléne Steinhöbel. Chris, welcome to Careers Are Weird. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm super stoked to be on this podcast. I'm really good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Amazing. I'm really good, happy and healthy, no complaints.
Good.
Sweet. So, Chris, you have such an exciting career, and we talked a lot about it off air, but I think it's just, it's insane, and I can't wait to talk about it. And so, when I usually start the podcast, I usually start by asking what your current title is, what you're doing right now, and I kind of work my way back into how your role started. But I think you had one of the hardest careers straight out of uni, and I'm just going to start way back there, flip up the whole the whole direction of the show, and just be like, what did you study in uni, and what did you want to be when you graduated?
So, just before I even answer that, I did my A levels. So, I moved to England from South Africa when I was 12 with my mum and my brother for like the whole better future and being able to go to university and things. I got to A level and I felt so disappointed, I'm gonna let my mum down or whatever for this big move, because I had no idea what I wanted to study. I just had this feeling that I want to do something amazing and it's not a 9 to 5. But obviously, like, very conservatively brought up, like a lot of people. So it's like finish A levels, finish university, get a 9 to 5. But eventually, I chose sports science, which was the general rule of thumb for Loughborough University for sports people. It's the easiest one to get into. And I was like, I like sport. I don't really know. And I got a scholarship for cricket at the time. So that was the feeding system for the England cricket team, and it still is. And I was like, I cannot not study. Like, I have to take this opportunity if I know what to study or not. So, yeah, I went for sports science. Yeah, that's kind of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you enrolled in a sports science degree because that's something that was like, all right, cool. I could do that. I like sport. This is cool. At some point in your degree, first year, second year or something, you eventually start thinking about graduating. And well, what did you want to be when you graduated?
Yeah, when I thought about being all grown up, I still had no idea. The cricket was going exceptionally well, and I thought this could be my career. I would love it. Like, what more does any sports person dream of than representing your country? At that point, I felt more English than South African, and I was like, "That's my country." And other than that, honestly, I didn't have a clue in what specifically I would go into, apart from maybe sports psychology. But I would have to had studied psychology after my actual degree for that, because that was only like a module in our degree. So yeah, that was it really. I thought maybe sports psychology, but it's funny given what I do now as well.
So hold up. You still didn't know what you wanted to do. Cricket was going well. You graduate. What happens after you graduate then?
Well, the thing is, again, careers are weird, and this is a curveball. I didn't graduate. I basically got sent back to South Africa. They wouldn't renew my student visa, so I tried to fight that for 4 years, which meant no studying. So I couldn't finish my third year. I can't work, so I was just there waiting and getting rejection after rejection, so much money on visas, until I had to come to a decision of, like, I have to go back home. Like, I have no other option. I can't rely on people there. And unfortunately, as you know, my mum passed away, so it was just me and my brother. There's actually no home base. It was, we're at uni, and there's, you don't go home anywhere. So I decided to come back to South Africa, without a degree. So Yeah.
Whoa, that is a massive decision to have to make at, I mean, university. What are you, 21, 22? Like,
Yeah.
that was a lot to deal with at that age. And you went home. Well, I don't even want to know how you're feeling then. You come home, no degree, and how do you get your first job after that?
Honestly, I was distraught. A part of me felt like I let the whole move down. Like my mum packing up, she could hardly speak English. So I was like, we're going to a place where they only speak English. So like all these sacrifices from her family and everyone and us, and going back home was super tough, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I was, to say the least, like in a state, like whirlwind. And from there, you just kind of have to get your bearings. I remember being back home in the northwest where my dad lives and having to move back in and just trying to go from there. So what I did just to get momentum, and it wasn't even just about income, it was about what makes me feel good about myself, is to get out the house and feel like I'm progressing. And I'm still like that today. Like I can't not do anything with my life. So I got a job in the Virgin Active close by, did some personal training, and yeah, from there actually, um, I could choose: do I continue to play cricket or do I continue to play rugby? Because the step that we missed is I randomly started playing rugby at university, like socially. So yeah, when I got here, I had to make a decision: is it cricket or is it now rugby? And I went with the rugby, and the rest is history. So
So you came home, and did you immediately join a local club rugby or local club cricket whilst you were doing that job at the gym?
yeah, so I joined. So we call them provinces here. So I joined our province, so the Northwest Leopards, um, and yeah, like the standard of rugby, even back then, it's not amazing. The best rugby is down in Cape Town. So yeah, it was tricky to get involved, but again, at least you're doing something, and at that stage as well, um, yeah, I was basically trying to keep busy as much as I was like figuring out what needs to happen next. Yeah.
And then you said the rest is history. So I know, but they don't
Yeah.
know. So what do you mean the rest is history of the rugby? What happened after your province debut?
So yeah, interestingly enough, so I accidentally got into rugby. It was a total accident. And careers are weird. And I made rugby friends at uni, even though I played cricket. And they were playing an alumni match, Bath University versus Loughborough. I don't know if there were injuries, I can't remember, but next minute I got nominated from the side of the field, like cheerleading my friends. And I had someone's boots on, shorts, I got a jersey. I didn't wear anyone's gum guard, so that's good. But yeah, I was just on the field running sideways because I'm like, don't touch me. I come from a game of sport where we wear all sorts of padding, like helmets, like So I was like, don't touch me. But yeah, I was that was it. I was like, this is fun. So I started going to training for 15s. Then I got invited to sevens. Then I got invited to sevens trials. Made it to round two, and that's kind of when I had to leave as well. So I kind of missed out on going further on that anyway. Then I decided to go for the provincial rugby here. I got here in like June, July of that year, 2015, and I remember that October somewhere there was a national tournament. Um, it's way up north, like closer to where I was born, actually. And what I didn't know at the time was that there was some SA scouts there. I was just new in South Africa, like, yay, let's go. And yeah, after the tournament, they called a group of us together, gave us some forms, said we want you guys to come train with the SA Springbok Women Sevens in Stellenbosch. I was like looking around, going, I'm so confused. Like I thought this is just a social tournament. Um, and anyway, so I think it was like 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to Stellenbosch, and yeah, training with the Springbok women. And initially I didn't get a call back. I know they were prepping for Dubai and they were looking for some players, Dubai Sevens. And there was like, I think two girls, Nadine Roos, who is still playing, she's phenomenal. And then Libby, was it Libby? three and Shanae. Anyway, those three girls got invited to go to Dubai, and I was gutted. So I was like, oh, I messed up. I didn't like make it until the next year. I think it was it was for Hong Kong Sevens. So I got there in Feb. I got a call. I was still at Virgin Active, got a phone call, of being naughty answering the work at phone. And then, it was Renfred Dazel was the coach at the time. And he was like, listen, how do you feel about coming down? We can help you write letters for your job, obviously because you'll have to take time off. And this is what it will look like, day-to-day pay. So you will be fine. So they were really good at structuring it so it made sense for you to go. And then obviously the opportunity to go to Hong Kong. It wasn't a given, but if I was there and it was decent enough, then I would go. And I went to Hong Kong. It was my first tournament with the Springbok ladies, and we won the tournament. I played probably a total of 4 minutes in the whole tournament. So I was basically just a bencher. And after that tournament, they just never let me go home. They were just like, can you stay? Can you stay? Can you stay? At the end of that year, when it came to contracts, they offered me a contract. So that was pretty cool.
Look at that. So I think the part that you don't even mention there is the fact that whilst you're working your job at Virgin Active, you were maintaining your own training on the side, keeping yourself fit, healthy, ready to go, and essentially funding yourself as a pre-pro athlete.
Yeah.
So very cool. And congratulations on that, because not many people get a contract to play rugby for their countries. And guys, if you don't listen to rugby, the Springboks is a South Africa rugby team, and Christeléne played for the Springbok women's sevens team. So national level athlete here. Because I feel like you're just like really quiet about that. Guys, international rugby athlete here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome.
Was there a massive change in the environment when you moved from working at Virgin Active and training on your own and going to a few camps now and then to when you became a full-time in their system contracted athlete?
Yeah, I think like you mentioned, what was difficult was maintaining any sort of fitness that is required for that level of performance. It's really difficult to even describe what you physically need to do to be able to do, never mind the mental game. So if you're not permanently contracted or in a system like that, you're kind of just like, like pulling at straws and fumbling in the dark. And I remember when I got there, I've been an athlete for pretty much my whole life. And I've been in academy after academy for cricket. Then I went to Loughborough. And so we did conditioning, we did and I got to the rugby. And the first feedback they gave me was that I don't move like an athlete. They were like, we don't know if we can keep you here in terms of safety, in terms of injuries, because you don't move like an athlete. And I was like, that's the first time I've ever heard that in my life. And so I realized that level that you need to be at, the conditioning, the rehabilitation, like everything, power, strength, speed, all your dynamics and what that requires to be at that level was so hard to maintain until I got a contract. But I just thought, you know what, I'm going to chip away. So what they did was they did give us programs if we went away. So that helped. But again, you're not in that environment where there's people right next to you. And if they're running this fast or, this is the pace or, you've got no way of knowing where you're actually going to measure. So yeah, I would say that was really difficult to just know and navigate. How do you even train at that level when you're not in that environment? It's difficult.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. Very, very personally, I feel that. So then how long were you in there in the Springbok 7 setup?
So from 2015 to 2020. I would have liked it to be longer, but we did lose our whole women's system. Not even just our contracts, our whole women's system was wiped because of 2020 and COVID. So that was quite sad for a lot of us because we lived at work. The facilities is called the Stellenbosch Academy of Sport. It's really cool. They also, as well as they have us there living full time and the younger sevens boys, They also rent out the rest of the rooms and facilities to international teams and athletes. So generally, we'd have Olympians, Paralympians from all over the world. The Springbok men come and have camps there. So it's always filled. Um, and yeah, I think living there made a big difference, but that was our home base. So losing our contracts meant we lost our home as well. So all of a sudden, like end of November that year, bearing in mind it's holiday in South Africa, like things closed down very quickly in December, and so there were a lot of us without work, no roof overhead, and we had to really quickly decide if we're going to move back home or like get our own place or live together, or we had to make some really quick plans. So about 5 years, and yeah, kind of that was it.
Whoa. Okay. So you play rugby for 5 years professionally. The program gets shut down due to global
Yeah.
pandemic. You have what, 1 month to figure out where to go, where to live. What did you do?
We actually had 2 weeks to figure that out because the facility shut down in mid-December. So like after Cape Town Sevens, usually it fizzles out and they close the facility. So we had like 2 weeks. Me personally, I was not moving home, so I just got myself an apartment like the town next to Stellenbosch, Somerset West. And yeah, I just decided there's no way I'm coming all the way back up here. It's literally the Wild West up here. Like to explain to people where I am right now, it's like dust and dry grass kind of area. So I was like, nah, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving the ocean for this. So yeah, I decided to get my own place at that time. Yeah.
Okay, so you got your own place, but I feel like, how long did you stay in that place before you got your next job?
Yeah, that was tough, eh? And this is the thing about the ebbs and flows of like what you think life should look like after university or going into employment, and forget everything that people are telling you, including your parents, because they only know what they know from their time and how things are working. And that is the best that they can do for you. And that's awesome. But life is not like that. It's full of curveballs. And so for me, I struggled for 3 months to get a job, um, until eventually I found another personal training job in like a 40-minute drive away, where again I moved into a different apartment, this time with a friend of mine because she lived in that area. And then that was that. Then I was in that job, but it was still not. It was still like a bridge to the next thing, if that makes sense. So kind of curveball in terms of it took probably 2 years to bridge to the next thing. So like after that first career, it took me 2 years to actually find an opportunity and bridge to the next thing. Because the funny thing is, when you play for your country, everyone loves it. But as soon as you are retired or you don't have that emblem on your shirt anymore, your value drops dramatically. So everyone's like, "Oh, you play for the Springboks, come and help us with this. We'd love to have you, this." And then because you're not actually playing actively anymore, they either drop your salary dramatically or they undervalue you dramatically. So that is amazing to have that on my CV as playing for the Springbok women. But I can also tell you it is not bared a lot of weight in getting another job afterwards. So it's really important to make sure that you have the skills and experience for after any sort of sport career, um, for that not to be an issue.
Whoa. So at least you were able to get the job that bridged that gap for you, though, because you said you moved after 3 months, you moved to another town
Yeah.
and you had your another PT
Yeah.
job, which was good that at least you were able to kind of do that. And that came from the first job that you did
Yeah.
when you first moved back to South
Yeah.
Africa. How long did you stay there before you said that was like a stepping stone bridge job? How long did you stay there till your next one then?
Let me think. So it's 2020, 2021. Yeah. So I think it was just less than a year. And I very quickly realized, I was like, this is not it. Like, I cannot stay in South Africa, not with our currency, not with the job opportunities, not with the pandemic like that just happened, and everyone's suffering, and every like the whole economy and everything. So I was like, the best thing for me to do is to start like look for work overseas, which is what I did. And I think it was within 8 or 9 months that I ended up in Dubai. Like,
Whoa, did it take you 8, 9 months to find a job? Were you specifically looking in Dubai or were you looking all over?
I kind of was looking in Bahrain and Dubai at the time, just because I've had friends who've made the move and it was successful and they're happy and, you know, all of those things. So I was like, okay, well, at least I'll know people that are close by and things like that. So, yeah, I didn't actively look for 8 months. I think I looked for like 3 months. Um, until I did like, so I was at Virgin Active, and then at some point I was like, nah, this is not the life I want. So then I started actively looking for like 3 months. Had a few interviews, couple that weren't successful, and then one at Fit Republic that was actually a really good interview, really fun. And also, you know, the gym is quite a decent gym.
Yeah, it's a really cool place.
Yeah.
I used to spend a fair amount of time there. Not anymore though.
Where are you gymming now?
Yeah. I'm not. I'm really
No
just
gymming.
not.
I like it. I like it.
No, I got a run club
I
now
love
and
it.
cycle
Yeah,
club.
awesome. Awesome for the running as well. I don't. I don't gym anymore. Listen, we all go through that.
No, I
We all
don't.
go through that phase where we take a sabbatical from like movement, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to do a back squat or a deadlift now if I tried. I honestly, a barbell, my hands are so soft right now. I couldn't even touch a barbell right now.
Yeah.
No. Wow. So you moved to Dubai just what? You would have been in South Africa for at least like what, 6 years?
Yeah.
So you just, after 6 years in South Africa, packed up and came to Dubai and started a new
Yeah.
job. What, what was a day in the life like in your first role in the Middle East?
To be quite honest, I hated it. Like, I hated it. Like, it was not for me. Again, and this is why this is such a good podcast, because again, people are selling the dream about Dubai, especially in South Africa. It's like it's even on our TV channels, like all of the like adverts about going to Dubai and like, you know, whatever. So I think they're really pushing it in South Africa. So um I hated it. I realized very quickly I hate personal training. Um, I am not someone who's gonna give the clients just what they want. I'm like, this is gonna be, you can't, like, I don't want to injure you. If you do this, you're gonna get injured. So I will want to help them first before we do the things that they really enjoy, which is throwing weights around like a maniac, or like, and even if they did it, then do, they they kind of like don't want to finish the whole session because it's too hard. So I was never that person to like or PT to be like, I'll just give you whatever you want so you re-sign again. I was never like that. So I really didn't like it. I would wake up in Dubai, walk to Fit Republic, which was like a 10-15 minute walk. And it was really hot as well. I was like sweating so much there. And then, yeah, try and find clients in the beginning was really like, wasn't difficult. Like I got clients really quickly, but then just lost them like quite quick as well. And I was like, it's literally, I'm not cut out for personal training. Like I'm cut out for working with athletes who rock up, are clear about what they want, and who's got the commitment and motivation, and soak things up like a sponge kind of thing. I'm not cut out for like general PTing where people want to have a chat with you for like 3/4 of their session. So yeah, it was hard. Didn't massively like the PTing.
It's so interesting that you just say, no, I hated PT. And when I'm just listening to you say your first job when you got back to South Africa was PT at Virgin
Yeah.
Active. Then when you were out of the Springbok 7 system, you were PT at Virgin
Yeah.
Active. And then you got a job as a PT here, and you're like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
really not having the PT
Yeah,
anymore.
no.
Did you always feel that way, or was it the Dubai PT that was like, yeah, that's it, that's where it ends?
You know, I actually thought Dubai would be better because of the turnover of people. I thought there will always be an influx of new people who want to like be part of things and whatever. And especially at Fit Republic, it's a cool gym. So I've always hated personal training. However, like I mentioned, I didn't get to finish my degree. I had 1 year left. So I was like, I've got no degree to go fall back on. The easiest thing for me to do is to PT. And every time I've needed a saving grace, personal training has been the one. So, you know, like as we are talking about careers, like you got to do what you got to do sometimes, even though it's not where you want to be specifically. You just have to make sure that you can survive and live and get yourself to the next thing. So that's basically what PTing was for me. It was always a bridge to get me to the next thing and like buy me some time. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. And yeah, you are right. Especially these first, I think the first bit of your career, like 20 to 35, that first 15 years of your career, a lot of people think that they're going to quickly jump and become CEO or this executive director, this and this. You don't realize sometimes it's really just surviving and figuring it out and making ends meet, because life is real and it's not Instagram, and you actually have to do things to make ends meet, even if it's not something you particularly love or enjoy.
Yeah.
At least yours was slightly related to what you
Yeah.
were into sport a little
Yeah.
bit. So yeah, you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, valid
So,
point.
I
Valid
mean,
point, because I think they sell us the dream about you're going to get a job and you're going to have it for the next 10 years or whatever, and it's just not always like that. It depends what you go into. If you're a teacher, that's more likely, for example. But, if you're a sports person, or, if you're in any of these like weird niches, um like I love to tap into, then it might be inconsistent for a while, but you need the experience to like bridge those gaps, do what you got to do. And also, if that happens, this is one thing that I realized very quickly is I went through phases of feeling like I've just absolutely failed at life, like with the rugby even. And then when I couldn't get a job, and I was like, how can I not get a job after I just played for the Springboks? Like that carries a lot of weight in South Africa, and I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I mean that just in terms of working with physical activity, I cannot believe that I cannot find a job after that. And so I felt like a failure, and all these intrusive thoughts come in, and you're like full of self doubt. And the longer you're without a job, the more your self worth drops, and the harder everything becomes on a daily basis. Like the motivation falls away and stuff like that. So, yeah, and I think it's important to know when those things are happening. Like it doesn't mean that you failed at all. It does, however, mean that something's challenging you, and you need some friction to like level up. And this is what I've realized is whenever something like this happens, when you lose a job or something is happening in the background. Like whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever the language is, right? I don't mind, but I believe that there's something bigger out there, and I'm like, something's cooking up a storm here because my life is in turmoil. So either, or what I believe is that something is making space, or something is leaving to make space for what needs to come in. And that is always, and is proven in my life time and time again, if I try and force my own results, and when it happens, how it happens, all of those things, I never am fully successful with that process. But when I allow that to happen, and I have like little bits of action every day towards what I want, but I leave the how and the when up to whatever, whoever, that turns out way better than what I could have forced it to be in the first place. Does that make sense?
it makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. Like you're right. Things are happening, and there are things that will be out of our control,
Yeah.
and it's the way we react to it as well, you
Yeah.
know?
100%.
So no, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad you've never really let it keep you down though, because since I've met you, so to all the listeners, I met Christeléne at Fit Republic. I kind of met her concurrently in two of her roles because I said at the intro, she was one of my teammates.
Yeah.
So just a bit of a sidebar here. Christeléne and I both played for the Dubai Sharks women's rugby sevens team. Fun fact about us. Oh my
Okay.
God. I haven't done that in so long. It was really interesting because I kind of got to see Chris transition from the PT role at Fit Republic into the coach role at Dubai Sharks, which was really interesting because I think something you just mentioned there was when you're PTing, it was people who wanted to kind of just chat to you for the three-quarter of the session and kind of wanted to do what they wanted to do. If they wanted to do glutes and biceps, that's what they wanted to do. Versus you became my rugby coach and I had to do what a 340 was all of a sudden,
Oh,
right?
those things are nasty.
So, yeah. So how was that something you really enjoyed, the transition from PT into coaching?
Yeah, so it's funny because I always said I don't want to coach, but I really enjoyed the age groups I worked with. So initially, the plan wasn't for the younger girls to join us, right? But then they end up joining us for quite a lot of sessions. So in many ways, that was really helpful for numbers, and in other ways, it was super difficult behind the scenes for me to plan the sessions so that the people who've never played rugby and are on the beginner level skills get what they need, all of that attention, which is a lot, versus the people who kind of have the skill and they're intermediate level, and for there to be some flow and fun as well, because otherwise they get bored and they want to leave. So it was really hard in the background to navigate all of that. And I just want to shout out to our friend Orla Dempsey, because she was such a foundation and pillar for me to vent, to soundboard, to get ideas and pull things together so that we can make that happen with that wide range of age group. It was like under 15s to senior women. So yeah, I really enjoyed coaching and transitioning into it. Really enjoyed the girls, like the banter. I loved it when I got some banter back as well. Um, Sometimes I got my alter ego out, which you guys called Patricia, and I didn't know for a while.
I forgot.
Yeah, so just for anyone listening, so there was a few comments being thrown around, like when I would get a bit annoyed or something, and they would say, "Oh, Patricia's out," and I didn't really. I just like kind of let it slide. And turns out they gave me a nickname, Patricia, from what's that movie? Is it Split? One of
I don't
yeah.
know. I'm horrible at
Yeah, so
movies.
there's a movie called Split, and the guy's like multiple personalities. And anyway, one's Patricia, and they gave me that nickname because I'm like, well, this is how one of them explained it is like I'm super chilled and fun, and then until you like really tick me off, and then I'm just like I just switch for like a hot second. Um, so yeah, that was difficult to navigate with that age group, but the transition itself, absolutely loved coaching you guys. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like coaching, it was a natural progression for you because whilst we may have been a slightly difficult group when we wanted to be, there happens to be a sign in the back left-hand corner, well, the back of your screen, and it says something, and I feel like that's involved with coaching too. So did you just continue being a coach?
Uh, yeah, pretty much. So I became the coach, obviously, for the Dubai Sharks women, as well as director of the women's section, right? But they were quite the same. They were quite a similar role because the club was still new, not new, but like it was finding its feet and it was growing really fast. And I only realized after I left Dubai and those roles, were that we did amazing with the caliber of players that we have, which is Dubai rugby is still a very social thing. It's socially competitive, and we were one of the teams that were the least like active in terms of on our own. There's like two or three or four people who are actively in the gym, like doing things, and then other people are just busy working. So it's more like we rock up because we want community, and we ended up playing in our first final ever that season with the group of women and girls that we had. We didn't have the best bond socially, and that picked up tremendously that year. And that was amazing. Our age groups for the girls did really well. We talked about launching, was it refereeing or first aid courses? I think that was happening. So I think all in all, like we did fantastic with who we had, what we had, and just the way that you girls soaked everything up like a sponge was it was a coach's dream come true. Like it was honestly, even though sometimes I got annoyed, like I almost want to say like I was so proud a lot of the time that when you guys scored tries, I had to choke back the tears. And I know that's the biggest wet white thing to say, but like it was so awesome to see. And then going from there and having that amazing experience with you girls, I got a job offer in Bali, which was different type of coaching. So it is in the mental health and addiction space. And for the people who are super confused about all my layers of jobs, I have been in the mental health space, so like in the background of the Dubai rugby coaching and a little bit before that, but it's nothing that I focused on fully. So I was coaching a couple of people here and there, a few athletes, like, you know, just on my own. And so I got a job offer, worked on an amazing retreat, mental health and addiction, saw the most incredible results that I can never unsee and unhave that experience with all of those clients. It was mind blowing what we achieved with an all holistic natural approach. And for people who are like boring or like, what does that even mean? We don't use any mainstream medicine. If the pain was too bad and really bad, they could come and ask me for something, and then I would have to get clearance from the doctor to give them a non-caffeinated Panadol or paracetamol, right? So we did everything herbal, and it's not only the herbally stuff, it's like grounding, movement, nature. Those things were the base of how we treated people. Obviously, then we have different types of like psychotherapy and like normal coaching and things like that. But so interesting. So I've fallen into the coaching seat, working one on one with the clients. These people are about to lose their multi-million, billion-dollar businesses. So the pressure and stakes are super high. Because of that, they've gotten into all sorts of drugs like opioids, cocaine, whatever you can think of. So therefore it stumbles into every other life area where things start crumbling, because it's like a butterfly effect, right? So their families are basically like, if you don't do this, we are gone. And that's the type of clients we worked with. So super cool, went into that coaching, and I'm still doing the same now. So free fall breathwork is not addiction. It's less about that the hard dark side of things, and it is more focused on the lighter side of things. So I have clients where we do talk about overwhelm, anxiety, depression, those things. Then I work with athletes, they also suffer from those things, but a lot to do with how to regulate your nervous system. And yeah, I wish someone told me all of these things when I was a bit younger, or when I first started playing at that level of sport. You have something inside of you. It's totally free. It's accessible anytime, anywhere, to get you hyper focused, for example, at the task at hand. So in the game, so you don't get overwhelmed with anxiety and cloudy. And then you also get to down regulate and calm your nervous system down, get your breath and your heart rate down so that you can focus post workouts, post tournaments, post CrossFit, high rocks, how to recover properly. The sooner your heart rate goes down, the better you recover. And then my favorite thing to work on is CO2 tolerance. So CO2 tolerance is conditioning the body to delay fatigue, which essentially means you can handle the gas exchanges a lot more efficient. You get more oxygen in, and all of that leads to increase in endurance, increase in recovery. You Everyone's aim is to run for longer than the other person, or run faster than the other person, or to hold out more than the other people. On the rugby field, for example, it would be, can you keep up that pace in sevens for not one game but 3 games? So can you keep up that intensity more than the other team? And so CO2 tolerance conditions your body to be able to delay fatigue, recover in those short bursts of like make a tackle, get up, fall in the defense line, go again. How do you breathe to like get back into a natural state and be able to go 100% again? So yeah, that's free fall breathwork. Is super fun. Love my clients. I'm going to give them a shout out. I've got Claire and Chelsea, who are athletes, and Chelsea's competing this weekend, I think. So she's CrossFitter, and we've managed to get her to take a lot less rest between her exercises in CrossFit, and to steal back some time on the runs, because she's not a fan of running, and she's always worried about how much time that sucks out of her whole performance. So yeah, with the breath and with CO2 tolerance and regulating the recovery, and off you go. You got a whole better performance.
You guys, I hope you guys realize that Christeléne here is proof that you do not need a degree to learn things and know things, because Chris, in all of the whole span between the first PT job at Virgin Active to now launching your own company, Freefall, when did you even learn all of this stuff about CO2 tolerance and breath work and what? And how did you even get picked to be in a retreat in Bali? Like there's so much that you've learned that you forget to think about that, hey, you've learned all of this.
Yeah.
Like amazing.
Oh yeah. I am when I get a moment to sit back and zoom out, I know that my journey has been up and down constantly. And when I zoom out, I also look at it and I go, wow, like I don't know if I would have it any other way because of the amount of things that I've learned in different sort of industries, mental health space, the addiction space, the breathwork space, like breathwork for anxiety and mental health, but breathwork for athletes. Yeah, I love that. So I am a geek, like I am a total geek. So I have always found time and things interesting, and then I tap into it fully. Like when I am interested in something, I really like hone in on it. And it's usually the weird things. Like when I moved back to South Africa last June, sorry. My dad also said like, "What you gonna do now? Whatever." Da, 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 from Bali, and he was like, "You're interested in the weirdest things ever. Like we don't know we don't know where you're gonna find work." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. It's kind of like blessing and a curse at the same time because I love it and I can appreciate that it's been up and down, but I'm also super grateful for it being that way because I don't have a degree. We missed out a part where I got an opportunity to do my master's degree through the rugby, even without a degree. So they had connections in England. So I did it over over Zoom. So it was the first year they opened up to do it online. And so again, I got 1 year done, and then COVID ended our whole system, and my thing was funded through the rugby. And then they were just like, sorry, now that there's no system, we're not funding the last year. So again, round two of not being able to finish my master's degree. And again, I was like, the only thing I can do is work as hard as I can to understand things and master them and those things I am interested in, and then go from there. And that has opened up opportunities like you cannot believe. Like this job in Bali, I know the rugby was an amazing career, but I'm not going to lie, the job in Bali was my favorite. Like it was my ultimate favorite career, the lifestyle, the way that our team worked together. I had two female bosses. They are powerhouses, and they were running that show like an absolute machine. And the results we got for people in that time frame, just the whole program. So I think do not like if things go not like you planned after you study or you have your first job and you want to change and whatever, like tap into what you're interested in, take some time, breathe, literally breathe, because it's not the end of the world. And there are so many of us out there who do not have paperwork to support us, but we are financially free. I've got freedom of time, freedom of money, like freedom of location. And that is something that I have manifested and prayed about for such a long time. Since 2020, I have been wanting all of that freedom. And slowly but surely over the years, I have had to notice and realize that that is what's happened. And it's been ebb and flowing, but essentially I've got what I asked for. So if you're into manifesting, number one, I do an amazing manifestation course. Number two, be careful what you ask for because you're going to get it. You're going to get it.
Wow. I mean, Chris, I feel like I'm glad that you sometimes lean back and zoom out a bit and look at everything, because from just being a PT in a gym to being a professional athlete, I don't think you realize you've actually launched your own business now with Freefall Breathwork. You have set up, launched, gotten your own clients, created the program. of a whole new company, and you are running that right now. So that's amazing. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
Really.
Thank you.
I actually have a question for you
Yeah.
because so I signed up for the PDF for the free fall breathwork thing, and I kept meaning to do it. And then I saw the interview date for us getting closer.
Yeah.
And I kept saying to Emma, I'm like, I need to do the breath work before I interview Christeléne. I need to do it. I need to do it. We're gonna get on the podcast, and she's gonna be like, she can't breathe. So I keep meaning to do it, and then I'm just like, I wonder. I read through it, and I'm like, does Christeléne sit and test every breathwork protocol out herself?
Yeah, love it. Yeah. So this is the thing is same with PTing is like I will never give a program to someone I don't know how to do myself or haven't. And it's not just about how to do it. It's about the sensations you feel in your body. Like let's say if you're PTing, you need to know how much the person is struggling on what rep and what set to be truly like patient with them and give them the right weights and like guide them correctly if they're not aware of their own body and stuff. And it's the same with the breath work. So if I don't go through it myself, I can't guide them at a specific point to be like, let's say I'm doing a live session or a recording and I know I'm getting to 2.5 minutes of active breathing. I can cue them if I've done it myself and go, this is where it gets really hard. So you need some grit. Your mouth is going to get dry. Your throat's going to get dry, but I want you to push through. I can't do that if I haven't gone through it myself because I wouldn't know. So yeah, I do go and test these things. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's still on my list of things. I keep avoiding that one. I'm just like, you're gonna find out I can't breathe, so maybe I won't.
So
Chris, we are on track. We are on track to actually be the longest Careers Are Word episode so
Nice.
far. So just to kind of wrap up, I do want to ask you though, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans, and as your career can really show you there. What do you want to do next? You've got free fall, that's happening. What do you want to do next?
To be honest, I'm always looking for ways to tap into more of the sport industry, and my thing has always been since 2020. I want high levels of change, high levels of impact, and that is still true for free fall breathwork, which is why it's such a like good sort of like business for me to have like chosen and got into because I would love to reach more athletes. And we train, for example, ourselves to death to the point where the South African men's sevens are telling us that we are training so much harder than they are on a consistent basis, but we're not getting the results they're getting. And with that in mind, and over the years of, experiences, I was like, if I told you as a hierarchical CrossFitter or an athlete that I can make this easier for you to perform, to have more endurance, to keep that same intensity. I can make this performance 10x easier for you. Are you going to say yes or are you going to say no? And I'm like, if there's anyone out there who says no, then I'm like, that's fine. I don't even know what to say about that. But that is a thing of like, I want to get into the hybrid community a bit more. I would love to go and do workshops for people, like CO2 tolerance workshops, and then be able to go to the bigger events. And it's not like, like these people have these like little clothing stalls and whatever at these events, like, or massage beds and whatever. Like I would want not my own store, but I would want to be at these events as a CO2 tolerance coach where people can just come for advice or if they have performance anxiety and just come in for like 2 minutes and work with me at these events. So I can just like hone in and give people as much free tools as possible to make performance easier.
Whoa, fun. That's crazy. I mean, I think there's so many big events coming up. I think you just need to look out for the events and honestly pitch yourself. Reach out to event organizers and be like, hey, I do this. I want a spot at your event.
Yeah.
There's really no charge to you. I want to be there and help your athletes who are competing. I really think you should just put yourself out there because, again, why not? Yeah. Chris, this has been such an interesting episode of Careers Are Weird because you've done so many really weird things. Honestly, I don't have anyone else who's done these things. And Look at you. You're owning your time, owning your career, owning your freedom. And honestly, I'm just really happy for you. So this is super cool to hear the whole backstory behind all of
Yeah,
it.
thank you so much for thinking of me and having me on your podcast. And as I listen to your other guests, like everyone has such incredible weird stories. And yeah, it's I don't think we're gonna ever be able to have like a solid line of life. It's always gonna be like this. And the one piece of advice I can give anyone listening is, if you're not on video, you can't see, but like let's imagine a straight line through the screen. Sometimes our ups are up for a long time and our downs below the line is just as long down, and what you want to do is you want to get that to like that up and down. You want to get yourself out of the down as quickly as you can go to the up. So it wants to be like, it's almost like quantum physics. It's like you want to be like buffering in the up and down rather than having these huge ups and huge downs in life. And all of that is doable. Like you're never failing. You're falling forward essentially. And yeah, notice where you are at and notice when things are going not like you want them to. That is a way of someone or something in the universe making space for the things that need to come into your life. So let those things go. They're not meant to be, and just look for what is like needing to come into your life.
Sage words. And on that note, I'm going to wrap up for this episode of Careers Are Weird. You guys, you know what to do. Like, follow, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. I'm going to link up everything for Christeléne, for Freefall Breathwork. If you go to Freefall Breathwork, there's a link to get the PDF with some of the breathwork exercises. That same PDF I said I've been avoiding, I've read it, but that same one, you guys do it and tell me how your CO2 tolerance is. But yeah, give Christeléne and Freefall Breathwork a follow, try out the protocols, and until next Wednesday, stay weird and stay ambitious, my friends.